where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pilecki dives on the right side, very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys, Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pilecki. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get around the inside. Vita Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will clip the grass. Oh, a 180, no, a 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernot. Gernot will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
Head west about 3 hours from Sydney and you'll find yourself in a town called Bathurst. Nearby is a collection of parks called Mount Panorama. Here, a few days a year, the roads around this part of town become a racetrack that is known the world over. But to many racing drivers, the name of this place can be simplified to just the mountain. That about sums up the most daunting aspects of this 4-mile behemoth. Today, our drivers will try to take on that challenge as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, Bathurst, Mount Panorama Circuit, the mountain, whatever you want to call it, it is a beast.
It really is, and it doesn't matter what kind of car you drive. It is a handful here. It's a bumpy surface. Of course, they still use good portions of it as public roads during the rest of the year. So, of course, you have normal street traffic on it and all the things that come along with it. And these Lotus 79 machines here today, well, they are going to be a handful with the bumps on this circuit and, of course, just the normal things that come with running on Mount Panorama. Of course, we're running the full layout. There really is only one layout here. 23 turns, 4 miles in length, or 6.213 kilometers. With that, we'll take a lap around Mount Panorama.
All right, we've got Juha Norlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Bathurst. Coming down to Hill Corner, getting the exit off of here will be critical. It's a simple 90-degree bend, but because of the long run up the mountain straight, being able to find traction quickly and confidently will make or break lap times. On top of that, the Lotus tends to punch a big hole in the air at high speeds, which will lead to some draft battles throughout the race. That'll make this not just a race of attrition, but of strategy as well. Heading up to the braking for Griffins, even though this will probably be a popular passing spot, going through here too wide can prove tricky. And the danger doesn't stop there. The cutting is very much single file with the kink in the braking, so get it sorted out before you chuck it in here. Coming off the corner, you can see it gets incredibly steep now that we're well into the mountain. Be careful with the throttle around Quarry since there's bumps that can easily spin you into the concrete walls on either side. You'll need a big lift to thread it through Frog Hollow, and then across the top there's more throttle modulation needed to navigate the fast left-hand sweepers. Finally, into McPhillippi Park, watch out for the curb on the right because it'll end a lot of drivers' days before you can even blink. After that, swing it through Skyline and slow up the car carefully while you weave through the S's. Ideally, you want to set yourself up for the dipper, but always keep an eye out for yellow flags since track blockages are a real problem through here. Back on the power, you don't have much time before Forest Elbow. Try your best to keep the car off to the right in this steeply downhill braking zone. And then, much like the first quarter, being able to put the power down is essential. You've now come to the Conrad Straight, and the car is going to be absolutely flying along this part of the track. Yet more drafting will keep the racing close, but the big difference here is you're going to have to contend with the chase. Though the kink will be easy with the ground effect sucking the car to the pavement, the braking for the left-hander will be a big old game of chicken. Who's braver on the brakes will probably decide a lot of battles. Watch the crest coming out of here because it likes to make the car understeer. Then, finally, there's one more turn to go with Murray's Corner. Make sure to keep off that inside curb because it's known for upsetting the car's balance. From there, if you kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Bathurst.
There you see a lap around from the driver's perspective, and that should really let you see exactly how much elevation change there is, because boy, do you rise and drop a lot. Now, let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship as we let qualifying continue. Gernot Frische is still leading ahead of Bycroft. This has really been Bycroft's season. And Matt Wood is trying to give chase. He's staying within touch there. Those three are really your main contenders. Unhola and Kochi have got a lot of catching up to do if they want to become contenders in this championship. Considering this is halfway, they're going to have to really change things around. What about the team's championship, Adam? Is that similarly close?
Well, let's pull that up, take a look at it. And yeah, I would say so. All five, the top five, all within 31 points of each other. And halfway through the season, that means this thing can get flipped on its head 3 or 4 times before now and the end of this season. Of course, Equip Renault Elf leading the team standings right now with 121 points. And today I see Keith Herner here. We know Journo is not, at least at this point. Ablad Williams Racing is only 3 points behind. It looks like Steve Bycroft is here today. Kendrick Taylor, I do not see him on the board. Equip Lagaria Gigantes with Uhala and Barry West. I do not see either one. Oh, well, no, Barry West is here, so they should be able to get some points from today. Permalot Racing Team with Matt Wood, Glenn Corrigan. Does not actually seeing either one of those guys. Oh, no, Matt's here too. Okay. Scooter Ferrari, Spasvac with Kochi and Gutsuso. He actually, I believe both of those guys are here today. So be expecting some shakeup there in the team standings. So, of course, iRacing has the Bathurst 24. A lot of that just got done wrapping up. A lot of guys are tired. A lot of guys electing to skip today or race in another official race in this series at some point.
And I think that was the Spa 24 that they...
you know what I meant. You know what I meant.
Yeah, I figured that's what you meant. But let's take a look at the race details, because an important factor in these are those droplets that you see. It will be shaken up somewhat, but they do have some saving grace in that their 4 worst results for the Drivers' Championship will be dropped. So even though we're missing some major players, this might be one where they've decided they're too tired having raced at Spa for 24 hours or nearly that, and then trying to hop over to this craziness. The race today is 23 laps long, and they have no scheduled stop for fuel, just like they used to do in the real 1978 World Championship in Formula One. At least if you did stop, it was certainly very unscheduled and set you behind by quite a bit. Now, right now in the qualifying, Kochi, we were talking about how he needs to turn things around. His first lap time here in qualifying is on provisional pole, but he's being closely chased by Bycroft over a 4-mile track. There was only 1/10 between them, but now Matt Wood is up on the pole.
Yeah, Matt Wood setting that pole mark there by about 0.4 of a second. They need to see if that was his first lap or his second lap here real quick. And it was only his first lap. So, the interesting thing here is some of these guys come around the second time. Will the first lap be faster or will the second lap be faster?
That's a good question. As we let them come around, most of them, for that second lap. The temperatures right now, 95 degrees on the surface of the track, means it's a little hot, but not terribly so, especially considering it's smack dab in the middle of the day, 1 p.m. Virtual Standard Time here at Bathurst. Right on board with Kochi, trying to get that pole back. He comes down towards the chase, looking to hit his brake markers into this very fast entry. Ooh, look at the car squirming to try and get straightened out. But I think he managed to hold on to it. The question is it going to be faster, though?
No, we're 1 corner away here from finding out. Kochi getting ready to take that start-finish line. And what's his time?
52.9. 3/10 slower. So not even close to besting his previous time. I think that bob will cost him. This is Steve Bycroft in the Williams. He comes through the final corner. He's got half a second to make up, and he doesn't quite make up half a second, but he does get onto the front row with a 52.4.
And we'll see if Matt Wood can extend that as he goes through Murray's onto the front straightaway here. He does by a couple hundredths there, but he does 217. Now, what I'm seeing here so far, it's going to be tough to challenge him for that pole.
I agree. I think everybody's going to be having a hard time to get ahead of him in these final moments. Brandon Hawken, whose first lap unfortunately ended in a wreck, comes back around for his last chance and gets a 54.8. That puts him in 8th position. Without Adam Frazier down in 4th, he improves to a 53.4. That is a 0.6 improvement, but he is still in 4th position after that.
Here comes Ryan Moulter here. And last lap was a 57.247. This time around, 56.524. Doesn't improve his spot on the grid, though. He's actually still last of all cars that put down times.
It takes so long to get around this place. Last of the drivers just now coming around, including Timothy Reed, who we ride on board with. He sits in 11th position. Can he crack the top 10? No, he can't. Just a few hundredths slower than his first lap. Checking to see if anybody else is able to get a time in, and it looks like nobody is able to cross the line to get another one done. So our grid is now set, and for round 6, we will have Matt Wood on the pole. Steve Bycroft will be starting second next to him, Nicola Kochi. These three are the three major players that are trying to topple Freesia. They'll be starting third. Adam Frazier next to him, P4. Then it's Pablo Suarez starting 5th, and Daniel Gattuso in 6th position. Eric Lukel comes over a race here in the Lotus 79s with a 7th on the grid. Brandon Hawken in 8th. Edward Van Velsen will be starting 9th, and on his outside will be Teolis in P10.
Going back to row 6 in 11th position on the grid, we'll find Timothy Reed. Alongside him will be Barry West, Robert Simpkins, and Steve Sarles will make up row 7. Row 8 is going to go Keith Herner, Brian Moulter. Row 9, Lassie Randon and Todd Herner. They did not set times. They weren't able to get around. And Lauren Doolittle will be the sole entry on row 10. Everybody looks to be in the session, and everybody's expected to take the grid here for today.
Indeed, you can see them gridding up right now as we wait for the last of them to put on their race setups and get going for round 6. 23 laps that they'll be competing up and down the mountain. I guess one lap for each corner if you can get it right at least once in the race. It is a fairly decent sized grid, though not as big as we've had in races past, but as we mentioned, we have Spa today. So as the engines start to rev, the lights come up. Green flag is out here in Australia. Bycroft does not get a good start at all. In fact, Nicola Kochi already up to the inside, coming down into Hell Corner. He might be able to get this one away if he gets a good drive off of it, but it's going to be a drag race down to Griffins as they climb the mountain straight, but this allows Matt Wood to streak away. Look at the gap he's got.
Yeah, Matt Wood just getting a fantastic start. Bycroft, not so much. Conrad can sometimes, Mountain Straight here can sometimes be the great equalizer. But as they head toward through Griffins and now toward the cutting here, start working our way up the hill. Everybody gets single file, although some not in the positions they wanted to be after that long straightaway.
Thankfully, everybody single file through the cutting as is not a place that is terribly safe to try and go too wide, but everybody kind of playing it safe, it looks like, on this first lap. Now that Kochi has settled himself into second ahead of Bycroft, he's trying to take off after Wood, but they've reached the top. They come back down the mountain through the S's and into the dipper. We got a spinner, Adam Frazier into the wall in front of the field, and everybody's trying to brake to stay out of the clog in the track.
Massive accident there.
Herner was involved. It's all started with Frazier just losing the rear. And I think really the worst of it was that he kind of slid back into the racing line. Van Velsen also got into it. Gonna watch from onboard Gattuso as he managed to, whoa! And he gets a face full of car. Not sure if that was net code and he avoided damage or if that car is crunched on the front. But regardless, our order as they cross the line for the first time is Wood in the lead, Kochi second, Bycroft third, but then it has changed dramatically. Suarez is in fourth, Hawken is up to fifth because of that. Gattuso continues in sixth despite getting a face full of Lotus 79. So we go to second place. It is a repeat of last time. Kochi being challenged by Bycroft, but this time Bycroft has a better run. He's going to slot in front and take second place, although they are already 2 seconds back from Matt Wood because of this battling.
Yeah, Matt Wood continues to try to slip off into the sunset here and just start to try to coast through the remainder of this race, but second place still very much in play. And really, thinking about drafting zones, of course, here, I mean, you have Conrad, you have Mountain, and you have the main straight. Outside of that, drafting probably not going to help you all that much. You really got to work on getting through the corners, getting through some of the rough track surface, and especially in some of the places that will upset the car as they head down toward one of those through Skyline, the S's, and the Dipper here.
Good to see. Bycroft stays in second ahead of Kochi as they work their way over the mountain. Down in the field, Timothy Reed was in a nice side-by-side battle through the cutting. He lost out to Steve Sarles, but he's trying to fend off Brian Molitor, who is behind him. This is all for 10th position in this train of cars. Out of Forest Elbow now. They plunge down the Conrad straight towards the cutting. These cars gaining a lot of speed. They may be known for their cornering speed, but I tell you what, they have a lot of oomph underneath them as it gets up to 175 miles an hour by the time they come up to the chase. Steve Sarles gets on the binders and weaves his way through successfully, continuing to hold back Reed.
Yeah, Molitor just looked like his back end lost traction there, had to take it into the grass to save the car. And another one of those pride and positions thing. His car is going to be okay for the most part, but he did lose 2 spots there.
What if he got some damage from that opening lap incident? Because
yeah, his rear wing looks like it got clipped.
So that might be affecting that rear grip as we come back to this battle between Gattuso and Barry West for 6th position. They hit Griffin's Bend and come up towards the cutting. Barry West just staying in line in that blue and white machine, chasing the Ferrari of Gattuso around every corner.
Nikolai Kochi ended up having a big slide going up into the cutting just a moment ago, so he's going to lose a lot of ground to Steve Bycroft.
Well, that's good news for Bycroft if he could break that draft, as Kochi came very, very close to the wall coming through the Dipper. He didn't touch anything, but that had to have been a scare. Once again, losing time down to 2.2 seconds away from Bycroft. But similarly, Bycroft is 2 seconds off of Matt Wood. And I don't think he's gaining.
Same time, though, he's gained about 1/10 of a second this lap. I mean, that's not a lot. You're going to need a little bit more than that. But gains are gains, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
I'm curious to see when they come across if he's gotten any more since then. A 53.6 from Wood that time. Also a 53.6 from Bycroft. So matching each other to the 10th. The 4 drivers we lost from the early problems are Lukel, Van Velsen, Herner, and Frazier. Frazier probably the most, the fastest name out of that group that has unfortunately called it a day early. Meanwhile, the battle between Gattuso and West continues on. 0.3 of a second separating them. West pokes his nose out. Just a little bit of a psychological move as he comes back to the racing line. A little too far back for an attack quite yet.
He might just be trying to bide his time until he can get down to the Conrad here through the mountain section. But he's going to want to get a little bit closer. I mean, he's going to want to really try getting a good run going through Forest here in just a few minutes, and getting that far back isn't going to help you.
As they come past McPhillamy, the highest point on the circuit. And now over Brock Skyline into the S's. This is where Frazier lost it on that first lap. You could still see the tire marks as they weave through there. And I tell you what, Gattuso looks a lot stronger than West through this portion. He's lost 0.7 of a second. And while we weren't looking, Brian Molitor seems to have had an issue that has required him to completely tow it back into the pits, and I think it was in the cutting.
Yeah, he was going up the hill, and I actually want to say it might have been Solomon Park, but ended up in the concrete and actually got stuck in the wall. So he is probably going to be done for the day here.
That's unfortunate to see. We're going to watch it one more time on board. This is the cutting and the way in. Oh, it just lost grip and it snapped on him, and well, on the mountain, there is no runoff to the outside, so it was right to the walls. We come back to the battle for 10th. Timothy Reed was fending off Steve Sarles, or actually, did he overtake him?
He overtook him, so Steve Sarles gave up that position. Timothy Reed was able to use the draft, get around Sarles, and so slot him in 10th.
Nicely done by Timothy Reed. Our biggest climber, honestly, currently, I'd say is Lasse Ryanen, just behind these two. He's in 12th, having started in 17th, but he didn't get a qualifying time in, so doesn't really necessarily indicate what his pace would be in the race as we watch him up through the cutting himself. A little bit safer through there for him. Todd Herner as well, with a few positions gained from the issues, 18 to 13th. In fact, the same amount gained as Ryanen. Of course, Lauren Doolittle finds himself up 5 positions from 19th. So all of them seem to have capitalized, maybe backed off a little bit on that first lap to weave their way through the stopped cars, through the S's. But this driver didn't have to weave through anything. Matt Wood leads another lap through to complete lap 5 now. And the gap is staying consistent. So this tells me that it's going to come down to mistakes, perhaps, Adam, or if they catch lap traffic.
Yeah, and that lap traffic could definitely play a role, especially depending on where you catch it at Bathurst. I mean, if you catch it up on the hill, you could be really slow. And just that last time around, Bycroft was able to shave another 0.2 off Matt Wood, but granted, he fell back about 0.2, so, well, there you go. So right now, that lead holding steady for Matt Wood at right around 2 seconds, but that's only one slip-up. I mean, the wheel breaks loose in the cutting or something like that, he's going to have an issue, and Bycroft will be all over him in a hurry.
A little bit farther down in the field, Teolis starting to get some company behind him. This is for 8th position. Robert Simpkins in the number 12, closing in slowly but surely. And through Griffin's Bend, cuts it now down to 0.4 of a second between them.
We're looking at a lot of guys going through Griffin's Bend here the last little bit, and it really seems like the rear end's trying to lose traction for them, and it seems to be a common problem through the field where it's more of a controlled slide going through there. So it could be a trouble spot, especially as these tires do start to wear a little bit later on.
Almost looked like Teolis brushed the inside wall through the cutting as he steered a little too close through there, but he's strong over the top of the mountain as he pulls away from Simpkins once again, down through the dipper and towards Forest Elbow. Difficult braking into this steep downhill section off the corner. Simpkins trying to gun it and see if he can get within the slipstream. These cars punch a huge hole in the air, and I think he's going to have it as they start to pick up speed.
And start getting a little bit closer here to the chase. I don't think he's quite close enough to make a move, but if he could keep that distance, he might either have a good look coming down the main straight or the mountain straight here in just a minute.
Oh, he looked like he was going to have a good run through the chase, but then went a little wide and caught some curb on the exit. Now they come through Murray's onto the front stretch once more. Like you said, he's going to get another bite once they go through hell and up the mountain straight. He falls back to almost half a second, looking to try and once again apply the throttle as quickly as he can without wheel spin. And he doesn't really gain a whole lot. He's just so tantalizingly close at him, but it just seems like he's not close enough.
Yeah, Perry West here making a hard charge here for P6 as
Gattuso.
Sorry, Gattuso runs wide. They're going through Griffins, and he's going to end up having to give up that position to Barry West. But that was a great side-by-side battle going down mountain.
Daniel lost a fair bit of ground with that error. Unfortunately, not a lot of grip on the outside of that corner from what we've seen in races past. So he's going to have to recollect himself, see if he could get back on top of West. That battle for 8th with that going on. We can't forget that Timothy Reed is behind them, and he's been chipping away with those two, worried about one another. Especially if this starts to go side by side, he'll be up there in a hurry. Out of Force elbow. Teolis strong where it counts. Car up to 150, 160 miles an hour. And those Simpkins gains in the draft, we keep saying it, he's not gaining enough. They're going to hit the chase, and he's even farther back this time compared to last lap.
Just seems like Simpkins doesn't have the drive off the sharp 90-degree corners than that Teolis has. That really seems like where Teolis is gaining his most advantage at.
And they're gaining on Gattuso as well. Does Gattuso have an issue of some sort? I wonder if maybe the underside of the car got a little bit of damage and is slowing him up? Or are they just simply faster than this pair?
I think they're just faster than that pair because they're really gaining on Barry West here at the same time.
So once more up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend. There you can see how many of them they are in a row. And Teolis, followed by Simpkins, followed by Reed, looking to see if maybe they can get to 6th position if they can all catch West. Now, did we miss a problem with Ryan? And I see him in the pits. Checking to see. He had an off at the chase. Oh, and I don't think we need to go back for the replay, but he did hit the wall coming up towards Frog Hollow. So that's why Ryan has not only taken into the pits, but has now retired from the race, it looks like. Staying on this battle in the mid-pack that is closing in together. Teolis finds himself a little bit under threat from Robert Simpkins. Reed continuing to eat away at the gap ahead of him. We ride on board with Teolis. Just behind the dark blue car that you see there, that is Simpkins. And then the lighter blue car is Timothy Reed in the number 8.
It finally seems like they're starting to stretch out a little bit more than what they had as far as that entire pack. It seems like once Barry West was able to clear Gattuso a few laps ago, that it almost helped everybody else out. But now Gattuso's still going to fall back into the clutches here of Teolis and Simpkins, I think, though. I just think it's going to take a little bit longer for it to happen.
Yeah, West is definitely starting to gap Gattuso. Let's stay on this battle, but a quick update. Matt Wood extends his lead over Bycroft by about half a second. So he's starting to pull away and make himself that little bit safer, but it's not a whole lot at a time. A little wide through Griffins from Teolis. It's amazing how these drivers can work their way around this track lap after lap and handle this circuit. This car is such a handful, and this track is so unforgiving.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, There's no runoff in most places on the track. You go a foot offline, you're going to find concrete. You don't hit anything soft here. And of course, never mind just the inherent, open wheel, doesn't like bumps kind of thing going on. So that all adds to it. And yeah, this car is probably one of the most challenging to get around here.
Now, Gattuso has regrouped in a way, and Barry West has lost a little bit of that gap. So we're seeing some ebb and flow to this battle between those two. And I think you're right. You mentioned it earlier that it looks like they're kind of evening out. I'm wondering if the wake over the mountain is preventing them from getting as close as they want to the car ahead.
That could be, and it just could also be the fact that different driving styles and all that. I mean, we're getting ready to start lap 10 for these guys. Leader, of course, already started lap 10. I mean, you're starting to see tire wear and stuff too, so that could be playing a role in it as well.
Simpkins went pretty wide out of the chase, and that cost him a lot to Timothy Reed. In fact, Reed is going to have a good dose of draft as they come up the mountain straight. Simpkins is looking to try and weave back and forth to see if he can break that. Now he comes back to the racing line knowing that he feels safe. So Reed not able to make the overtake quite yet, but has certainly put him under threat.
One thing I noticed when Simpkins went off and he went over top of the curbing is I did see some sparks. So you got to start thinking, did Simpkins hurt his under tray at all? Of course, ground effects is a big thing in these cars, so that'll be something to watch out for here as well.
Yeah, and it was something I was wondering coming into the race. That car does not like breaking the seal, if you will, of the ground effects. And this track has so many crests in place where regular cars get light. I kind of wonder if that's a real issue with trying to control it.
It very well could be, and it's one of those things that, if you don't stay right on line, it could degrade your performance as the race goes along.
We're on board with Gattuso, looking back at Teolis, who closed in on the mountain straight, but then across the mountain, he fell back once again to about half a second. He's going to try and gain a little bit more. They come down towards the chase. Oh, he's getting awful close. He pokes his nose out just a little bit, but no serious attempt.
I think I saw West there with a couple wheels off.
Yeah, he seems to be pushing. He did exactly what you just talked about before. He straddled the curb. It's a big no-no in this car. Lauren Doolittle seems to be in pit lane for some reason. I'm checking to see if I could figure out if he hit anything. Looks like he just simply was not happy with his pace and saw the leaders come in, decided it was time to come in, stay out of people's way. Oh, no, he's coming back out.
And there's Matt Wood and Steve Bycroft. You see the lap comparison between them. And, the gap continues to hang out and average anywhere between 2 and 2.3 seconds. Now, I really think that these guys are pretty evenly matched, and they just ended up this far apart. I think that's how that's looking to me at this point here. So we still got a little bit more than half the race left out of this. So it would be very interesting to see how Bycroft handles things here in the second half of the race.
Wood is going to approach lap traffic here soon. Todd Herner is in front of him, and he's gaining rapidly. The question is, can he pass him before they get to the mountain? Because there's not too many places to hide for poor Todd. There you see him on screen in the red and white machine.
Yeah, he's just going to move over.
Yep. He knows what's coming.
And he's going to let Bycroft here by as well. Bycroft using a little bit of that draft.
That was great racing from Todd. Good heads up. See the leaders coming in, knowing he doesn't want to try and hold them up. He's got a little bit of a gap back to Kochi, so he can try and run across the mountain before that becomes an issue. Ooh, things are getting a lot closer in that train we're watching, being led by Barry West. Gattuso and Teolis have now reached the gearbox of that Lotus 79. And actually, I'd say Teolis has got the best opportunity. Look at how close he is to Gattuso. Daniel seems to know it as well as he weaves across the track to try and break the draft, but there's no doing that now. He's going to fend off the inside. Oh, almost squeezes him off, and into the wall goes Teolis.
Just went in a little hot and just offline, and Wall ended up catching him. So he's going to take the tow here. He might be done for the day.
That was Timothy Reed going around the wrong way to try and get through. Must have outbraked himself slightly. Now, he was given plenty of space. I'm not sure if he just was maybe caught out a little bit.
I just think he misjudged the braking going into Griffin's there, being on the outside, and maybe got a little too focused on trying to maybe force his way around on the outside or something else. But there he goes. And you can see the gap that Timothy Reed found to try to get around that.
Yeah, great job by Timothy Reed, who unfortunately almost loses the car. If we could go to him right now. Ooh, down through the dipper. This is worth a replay on board if we can get it.
But I guess this is a watch his hands kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Although it was a bit of a slow, lurid slide. Woohoo! I can't believe he stayed out of the wall on that.
Probably asking himself, is that surface asphalt or dirt at this point?
So Timothy Reed doesn't lose a position, but he loses a lot of time to Simpkins, both with the going around the outside of the incident and with that slide. He's about 5.5 seconds back. As the clouds come over to cool things down slightly, that breaks up our battle in the mid-pack somewhat. Barry West stretching away from Gattuso. Now Simpkins has fallen off of Gattuso, and we mentioned Reed already and the huge amount of time that he has lost. And we're only just past halfway in this race. So far, Matt Wood, Steve Bycroft, and Nicola Kochi are exactly where they started. Granted, Kochi is dropping off bit by bit and is up to 8 seconds. He's on the last step of the podium by a huge margin, but he also doesn't look likely to be gaining a position unless one of the drivers ahead finds the wall.
Which is entirely possible at this kind of place.
Yeah, don't count anything out. You got to watch until the end at Bathurst, no matter what.
Going back to this battle we have been watching here, Gattuso really seems like he's got the Barry West number here as of late. Coming down the hill, they are wing to wing almost, and Simpkins not too far behind them. But that was the best run I think Gattuso's had coming down the hill in a while. Loses a little bit of it going through Forest Elbow, but still in the slipstream here coming down Conrad.
And keep in mind, West is up 6 positions from his qualifying, so he's having a very good race. Down through the chase. Oh, Gattuso's the one that gets onto the curb this time. Everybody pushing that much harder to try and get what they can out of the car through that very, very surprisingly tricky chicane. It looks wide open, but then you have to consider you're coming at it at 175 miles an hour, trying to break downhill. This is all taking place behind Matt Wood, still 2.5 seconds ahead of P2, and has been leading every single lap in that Brabham. Ooh, I see some damage on Bycroft's front wing.
He's had it there for quite a while. And I'm seeing on a lot of cars, I'm thinking it's just the curbing that they're catching with the wings that's kind of bending him up a little bit. But he did set his fastest lap of the race with that damage the entire lap, so it's not hurting him too much, I think, at this point.
Clearly not. He now comes to complete the latest lap, lap 14. As you mentioned, his last one, his fastest time around. So as he crosses the line, not faster this time, In fact, about a half a second slower.
So everything he gained that last time around ended up losing. So these two just continue to balance themselves out.
Oh, is that Simpkins? That is Simpkins. And Forrest's elbow, and it started with Gattuso. Lost the rear into Forrest's elbow, put himself in an awkward position. Simpkins couldn't avoid it. Oh, and actually, Simpkins did avoid it. It was Gattuso trying to get the car going that accidentally gets into him.
Oh, that's just a tough break. I mean, Gattuso probably thought he was clear, and, well, he wasn't. And Simpkins' car is just junk.
And that was Timothy Reed that you saw come upon the accident and have to really screech to a halt almost to try and stay out of Simpkins.
Pretty sure Timothy Reed's getting about sick of having to avoid these accidents at this point. But now he's all over the back of Gattuso now, too. So we'll see if he's able to hang with him.
He's just been being given a lot of practice for wreck avoidance.
Yeah, that's it.
Time to take it to Talladega. So Timothy Reed now seeing if he could crack into 7th place with Gattuso just ahead of him. Gattuso very wide coming out of Griffin's Bend. That's certainly not going to help his case in the Ferrari. They work their way uphill, climbing in elevation. Let's stay with this, but one thing I want to keep half an eye on is Suarez, who's in 4th. I've mentioned that it's a long gap up to 3rd place, 25 seconds now. But he's got Hawken, and Hawken is usually a pretty fast driver. He qualified 8th when his first lap, unfortunately, was a no-show, and has been coming through the field up to 5th now. So I'm curious to see if maybe he can run down Suarez eventually.
Still have 8 laps to go here, so you still actually have plenty of time to try to get something done. So that's a possibility. I'm just trying to think of what Bycroft's race would have been like if he had been able to get a good start off this thing. I mean, he could have been all over the rear wing of Matt Wood here.
Yeah, I think that battle really, unfortunately, put him at a disadvantage. Now, worth mentioning that we have a few Dory Award drivers who are just not giving up. Tony Teolis has returned to the race, and a long time ago, Van Velsen. Well, as soon as I say that, Teolis is back in the pits now. Van Velsen has gotten back out there and has been logging laps down.
We've been talking about the Suarez-Hawken deal. Suarez just had to slow up a lot. Lauren Doolittle was stuck in the middle of the track for a moment. He had to slow up for that, so Hawkins just gained a ton of time on Suarez here.
All right, that brings it down to 1 1/4 second between them. A little bit more of that, and Brandon might find himself with an opportunity. They come over Brock's skyline through the S's. And is Doolittle... Let's see, did he have another issue?
See, he came down pit road. It looked like he just parked it in the grass for a while after he kind of had his half spin. And now he's back to moving. Nowhere very fast, though.
I wonder if because I saw a lot of cars go by. I wonder if he was just waiting for a nice big gap so that he could run at a pace that's comfortable for him and not have to constantly pull over.
That is
he has 2 laps
certainly
down
possible.
from the lead. Hawkins stays at about 1.2 seconds behind Suarez as Reed follows Gattuso by about half a second. 7 laps left before we see the checkered flag. Ooh, Reed gaining a lot now. Gets it down to 0.2 of a second by the time they get on the binders, and a little deep for Gattuso. This could open the door. He immediately swings over to the right, which surprises me. I would think he'd want to cover off the inside. Timothy Reed doesn't have the exit to try and stick one in down through Murray's. He stays on the racing line. Could this be the one, though? Coming on to the mountain straight. A good exit is all he needs, and the draft should be able to do the rest.
Once again, that exit is critical, and I don't think that Reed had the exit that he wanted to, so he's dependent all on draft here to try to get to the back of Gattuso. And I think they're going to get to Griffins, and Gattuso here is going to be just fine. As long as he doesn't slide too much through Griffins, which he kind of does. I think Reed had a better line through there.
Daniel obviously pushing hard to try and stay ahead of that bright blue car. I've seen him, it seems like he tends to go wide. It just slides it into Griffin's bin. Every time I watch him come into that uphill right-hander. Not missing anything up for fourth. Hawken actually falls back slightly, so this is currently our closest fight on the track. Oof, another slide from Timothy Reed. Having to collect himself down through the dipper. Onto the Conrad straight. He's got to retake all that time that he lost. Half a second farther away than he was last time at this point. They're going to be coming up on lap traffic. Todd Herner ahead of them. Ooh, and they're catching him quick. This could play a major factor. Herner once again, great heads up to see it. Let both of them by without interrupting the battle. Still a little wide off of Murray's corner from Gattuso. Brings Reed in down to within 0.3 of a second across the line. They come around through Hell Corner. He's closer this time, but that corner exit is just hurting Reed incredibly.
We can report that Robert Simpkins attempted to return to the track, and he's going to end up taking a tow. And he has left, so he is officially done for the day. As Gattuso really slides it through Griffin's Bend. Man, Reed is just, as long as he can stay there, I think he's just waiting for a mistake to happen at this point.
You'd think, but every time it looks like he's got something, he just can't quite execute. Gattuso recovers once more now that they hit the mountain. I wonder if this is a difference in setup. I wonder if Gattuso's just got more downforce on the car. Because look at how well he's gapping him.
I mean, he's holding his own through there, and that very well could be.
This is where he lost it one time and nearly ended his race. Contact with Simpkins, he survived that, and he pulls on to the Conrad straight. Reed repeatedly catching him down this way. That kind of pays credence to the theory that Daniel's got more wing cranked into it. Timothy coming up to the chase. Gattuso, this time much cleaner, not straddling the curb, coming through the chicane. Up at the front as they are now down to 5 to go. Bycroft losing another few tenths to Matt Wood.
I have a feeling that at some point Bycroft will get those couple of tenths back. It just seems to be the way it's going between those two. I'll tell you what, though, Suarez, once Hawkins got close, Suarez really started to try to gap him here. So I think that battle right now, as long as Suarez can stay out of trouble and stay safe, I think Suarez is going to be able to come away with that one.
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to Pablo. He's been dealing with that pressure with Brandon behind him very, very well, and being able to not just hold him at bay, but extending the gap. Another fastest lap set by Matt Wood. Just absolutely flying at this point.
That fastest lap was a true, oh man, fastest lap, because I think that was about almost 3/10 of a second faster than what he had was previous fastest lap was. So he is setting sail at this point.
It certainly seems like he is. Look at the gap back to Bycroft starting to grow. You can see visibly on the screen He's right on board with Steve.
And I think that's the largest that gap has been all race.
I won't say you're right. I think he's not been able to get much farther past this away from the number 3 car. May not have had a whole lot of passing, but it has been a pressure cooker for the lead between these two all race long. Reed has regained on Gattuso down to 0.3 of a second once again. They tick off another lap. This is really where I feel like Reed almost needs to back off the corner entry and just launch it off the exit. And I think he may have done that this time. He looks a lot closer.
Yeah, only 0.3 of a second separate them now. Now down to about 2.5 here. Taking a sneak peek. Not quite able to get the job done, though.
He lifted a little bit early, and it's only 4 to go. Maybe he's just not willing to risk the car. Maybe he's happy with his 8th place as he goes way wide coming through the cutting. He has gained a number of positions. He qualified in 11th. 8th is a step up. Because I feel like at this point, he's got to get aggressive if he wants to try and get this away.
Might have to. I mean, you still got 3 laps to go of racing. Of course, now where you're at on the track is more closer to 2.5. So, you know, got to figure out something to get around him here.
So as they come down the hill, Reed once again losing out over the top of the mountain and regains it coming down the mountain. We've nearly lost half the field in this race. Not too shocking here at Mount Panorama. We've actually seen far worse. Credit to Gattuso. He's looking a little bit more steady than he was earlier on. We saw a lot of the car going wide and slipping and sliding around. He's starting to look a little bit smoother.
It almost seemed like, you know, it was always when somebody got somewhat close to him. So it almost seemed like he was starting to have trouble with the pressure of somebody behind him. But as more people have been behind him as the race has gotten on, he's just gotten more comfortable with it. And I think that's what we're seeing at this point is now Gattuso's in a good place in his mind and just being able to run his line and knowing, hey, that other guy's got to get around me, not the other way around. So pressure's on him, not me.
2 laps to go now. Matt Wood just crossed the line. Bycroft is continuing to decrease the gap just a little, but it's not a lot. It's 2.4 seconds between these two. It was up to 2.6 about a lap and a half ago. And Reed must have had a big issue because he's now 1.2 behind. He's usually a little bit closer than that. Not exactly sure what happened to him because I don't see anything on my replay.
It just didn't seem like he had that good of a section. They're coming up the hill and coming down the hill. He didn't seem as clean. You know, and you can bleed time through there very easily in a blink of an eye, really. So you mess up once and it disrupts your rhythm, and now you got to try to get it all back. Which he has a good draft there for a second. They're coming down Conrad through the chase. Now heading down toward Murray's Corner. He's almost right back there. Draft being a great equalizer between these two.
It really has been all race long, and it's brought him this close multiple times. And every time we keep being duped into thinking he's going to get something done. Each time it doesn't come to fruition. All right. Ooh, he's actually quite a bit closer as they come off of Hell Corner. I think Gattuso knows it. He's staying all the way to the right side of the track, up towards Griffin's. This time he actually does go for it. He's got a nose ahead. Is he fully passed? Not quite. He tries to turn in, but he's off the racing line. Timothy Reed, side by side through Griffin's, goes the hard way around.
Great pass and great right at the right time, because your leader, Matt Wood, has just taken the white flag.
Now, can he hold him off, though? If it's like we were saying, if Gattuso has more wing in it, then he's not going to be able to get past over the mountain where he's faster. That was brilliant stuff by the number 8. As you said, we are on the final lap for Wood at least, but he's a long ways ahead of Reed and Gattuso. In fact, more than half the lap ahead.
It's easier to say that he's closer to behind these guys than he is ahead. He's actually only about 20 seconds behind these guys.
They're not going to lose a lap, though. He's a little bit too far behind to catch them this time by. So, really, the big thing in this is that Reed is going to have to try and survive this one more lap around ahead of Gattuso if he wants to hold on to that 7th position. Meanwhile, not too much of a worry for this man. The Brabham of Matt Wood. The number 1 car will have led every single lap of the race after starting it on pole. He did have to worry about what's behind him because Steve Bycroft kept him honest, made sure that Matt had to work for it. And whether or not he was sweating in the cockpit, we'll have to ask him. He certainly looked pretty cool from the outside because Matt Wood is your winner here today at Bathurst.
Bycroft is able to maintain that gap. He's going to bring it home in second. Only, once again, 2.27 seconds behind. So, great job there by Steve Bycroft managing that gap.
Kochi with a lonely 3rd place. 15 seconds behind Bycroft. 38 seconds ahead of Suarez. We got a ways to wait before we get another car even across the line.
Hawkins is hurt. Hawkins is bad hurt. Reed's going to get around him. There goes Gattuso. Not sure what happened here to him.
Clearly hit something. But the battle for 6 is still within a second. Reed, though, looking relatively safe. This was the battle for 7th, but now that they've gained that spot from Hawken, apparently it involved Barry West, we're understanding. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Down the Conrad Straight. I put a little bit of doubt over Timothy Reed if he was going to be able to make the pass, wondering why he wasn't being more aggressive. Well, I think Adam was right. I think biding his time was all he needed to do. He waited for the right opportunity, and when it finally came, he made it with a decisive and impressive move to take 6th place here at Mount Panorama. All right, let's see if we can figure out what happened to Brandon. He has trouble.
He has now been doing this for almost 2 laps to try to bring this car home. So, survivor, man.
Yeah, really. Let's see, where did he hit the wall? Because I see some damage on him. This is multiple laps ago.
It was on lap 22 in Skyline.
Oh! Yep, that pancaked it. Unfortunately, car not made to go over the grass. So, as we watch him on board one more time. Just a little understeer, maybe? No, took a little inside curb. Wonder if that upset the car. Oh, that is unfortunate after the recovery that he made.
ended up hitting a wall again as we're hearing coming out of the dipper. So just great race for Brandon Hawkins. Just went all wrong right at the end.
Yeah, that is such a shame. He winds up in 8th position when all is said and done. But we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. But on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Mount Panorama Circuit, where we just watched round 6 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. Matt Wood was your winner, and though the gap was about 2.2 seconds, well, you had to watch the whole race because it was there, and then it was not, and then it was there. It just kept ebbing and flowing back and forth right around that 2-second mark, keeping Matt Wood under a slight bit of pressure. Nicola Kochi couldn't really say the same. Even though he got third, he fell back and back and back and back and just wasn't a threat, unfortunately. Pablo Suarez takes 4th place, with Barry West climbing 7 positions for a top 5 from 12th on the grid. He had a little bit of help with a first lap wreck that unfortunately took a lot of drivers with it. Timothy Reed finishes 6th behind him, with Daniel Gattuso, who he overtook with a lap and a half to go. Gattuso unfortunately falls down 1 from where he started and finishes 7th position. Brandon Hawken had to literally limp the car home to take 8th, with Steve Sarles being the last one on the lead lap out of our 19 starters. He gets 9th position. Todd Herner let people by multiple times. He was actually 2 laps down in the end, but he gets a top 10 despite that. Van Velsen finished in 11th. He was 3 laps down because of damage he got in the first lap incident, returned to the track and kept going. Lauren Doolittle seemed to have problems keeping it pointed straight forward, but still continued on and wound up 12th. Then Robert Simpkins, unfortunately, a DNF for today, 13th. Same with Tony Teolis in P14. Lasse Ryanen in P15. Brian Molitor, 16th. Eric Lukel, 17th. And Keith Kerner, 18th. Our driver that started that big wreck down through the S's was Adam Frazier, who winds up dead last today, unfortunately. So we are going to talk to our 2nd place finisher, Steve Bycroft, about that battle. Steve, it was something of a stalemate, but at least you kept Matt honest.
Yeah, he's been strong all week, so a lot of things would have had to happen for me to win that one. I would have had to got pole and then hung on to him, trying to save the car, and maybe I would have been a little better at the end, but he was just too strong. He's been strong all week.
At the start, we saw you and Kochi fighting quite a bit to settle out that second place. Do you think if you hadn't have had that battle, you could have been closer to Wood and maybe made a few attempts at a pass?
Yeah, that was the only way I could have uh, won the race would have been to latch on to Matt and then just try and save the car. But the way I had it set up, I was trying to use first gear as a race gear. So that's why I got such a slow start. And then Nicola, he's been strong all week too. So thanks to him, though, for kind of cutting me a break there and letting me go.
Next week is going to be a comparatively short lap with very few long straights at Olton, even though they don't have the chicanes on it. Do you usually fare well there?
No, I usually have terrible luck there, actually, but it's a fun track, so it should be an exciting race.
You and me both. I never seem to have good finishes at that circuit. Well, again, congratulations on that second place. That's still a good points day with Gernot not showing up today.
Yeah, Gurno, he's got a technical issue going on with his USB ports, and then he had to travel today, so hopefully he'll be with us next week.
I look forward to that. That was Steve Bycroft who finished second, and I believe up next we have third place finisher Nicola Kochi ready to talk to us. Nicola, we were just talking to Steve about you two having that fight for second early on, and then suddenly you dropped off, and it looked awful lonely after that.
Yeah, hi guys. Honestly, this week has been pretty hard. Not because I lack of pace, but because I always had this issue with front wing damage on the right side. I tried to basically fix it for 3 times for those 3 races, but I kept raising the car and getting stiffer in the front. But I don't know how, I don't know why, but the damage it was actually increasing. So I have no idea about the where and the when I got this phantom damage. But this thing made me fall back lap after lap. I felt the car going harder and harder every time I tried to do like a left hand corner. So I was even without looking to the wing, so I already knew that the best I could make it was third place, and I was just like waiting for the race to finish. But I still have no idea but to fix this problem, and that's a shame because if you see the qualifying lap, I was pretty close to the other guys, but this damage killed my pace almost like 1 second each lap. So it's not very good, but at least it was good enough to make a gap to the rest of the field.
That certainly explains it a lot better for us. Wondering why you felt back like that. A lot of drivers took part in the 24 Hours of Spa this weekend. Did you race with a team over there, and did that cut into any practice time if you did?
No, actually, I never did an endurance race before in iRacing because with the old system I had, I couldn't afford to be there with all that car in VR and get a decent frame rate. So uh, actually, right now I have a faster computer, so I can do it. But I'm one of those drivers that unless it focuses to one car only is going to be very hit and miss about results and not very consistent. So I just prefer to stick to one car and prepare with a lot of anticipation those kind of strange, at least for me, races like endurance or something like that. I have to plan to do an endurance race in Silverstone in September, but I didn't do anything still. So who knows?
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. I can't separate my attention too far on other cars either, but still, congratulations on a podium today, and hopefully we'll see you over in England next week.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you there.
Nicola Kochi, third place. And finally, we're going to talk to fifth place finisher Barry West. Barry, before we get to the rest of the race, let's talk about that opening incident. Do you consider it more a little bit of luck, or did you kind of pick your way through the wreck coming down through the S's intentionally?
Yeah. Hi guys. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, we got you.
Yeah. First lap, you've always got to be prepared to stop and just hope somebody doesn't go in the back of you if you get that sort of problem. And I could see cars flying in front of me. I slowed down, and I think it was behind Tony. I think it was Tony Teolis did well. He was coming a bit quicker than me, but he just managed to go to the left and slow down and creep through. That was a few places there, nicely given up. But that was a bit scary. But I got quite a good start from the race. I think I got a couple off the line into turn one, and then second lap round the I think it's with the inside of Tony into the first bend up the hill. But the setup I had was quite quick on the straight, but it was pretty slow over the mountain. I was really slow coming down the mountain. I just had to be careful because the race earlier I did, and 15 laps in, I was by myself and just lost concentration. So it's just a matter of when there's nobody around you, just keeping focus here, because it's so easy to make a silly little error and cost you dearly.
Yeah, is that something that is specific to this track that you tend toward the higher downforce, or do you usually try and crank more wing into it at most tracks?
I've used the same setup for quali and for race, and that's probably why the quali times weren't very good, because I think a little bit more downforce, you can make more time in the mountain than you can on the straight. But definitely for a race, you need the speed on the straight to be able to overtake. So I think probably race and quali setup should be different here. I don't know what the other guys have done. But yeah, I messed up my quality lap, and then I only had one to get a banker in, so it was just a conservative lap. But I was quite pleased with the result. Apart from obviously the accident, but gained a few places on track. I don't know if you caught, but yeah. And then with one lap to go, I think it was Brendan in front. I don't know what happened to him. Did he touch the wall or something? And he gave P5 up. Yeah.
Yeah, McPhillamy Park, he unfortunately went a little wide and found the concrete. But next week we're going to Oulton Park, and obviously being from the UK&I Club, that's sort of home territory for you. Which track, though, are you closest to as far as British tracks on iRacing?
I don't know if you know a track called Castle Coombe. I think iRacing have actually scanned it, but they haven't released it yet. But that's quite a small track. That's the nearest track to me. But into Silverstone's about 90 miles away. Oulton Park I've been to, but not driven around it. It's one of my favourite tracks to drive in this car. It gives wonderful racing, and it's such a good feeling in this car to drive. It's suited for this car. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make next week. I'm on holiday, so I should be touring around Ireland. So I should miss one of my favourites of the season. So there's not a very big turnout today either, and I don't know where my teammate was. We've not got many points this weekend.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still recovering from Spa, but again, congratulations on a top 5, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks then.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Cheers.
Barry West, 5th place here at Bathurst. And we're going to close up after that with a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie, as well as a special thank you to Stefan Schlacker, who helped us behind the scenes with a little info. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. On Twitter, we're GSR Channel. Facebook, we're Global SimRacing Channel. And Instagram is GSRC_Graham. make sure and subscribe to GSRC. All you got to do is go to our YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed yet, there should be a big red button. Click it, and you'll get all of our races in your YouTube feed. As we mentioned, we're going to Oulton Park next round. That'll be July 28th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. But we also have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.